to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is your will to bow. Please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for all the blessings you've given this town. Thank you for keeping us all safe in these times, and thank you for putting a council on this dais that looks at the good for all people when making decisions for this town. Please keep those who are ailing in your prayers, and just wish everyone a peaceful night. In this we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We have an agenda, and I will look to Mr. Steve. Is there any change in this?
Ma'am, no changes.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. We had a regular meeting and a CIP workshop, so we'll vote on the minutes of the regular meeting of October 10th. Is there no changes? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. And finally, our town council quarterly capital improvement project workshop. They were short. Any changes? If not, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Can I take a second from you?
Second.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We're going to start with our Beaufort County School District Character Student of the Month, and that's going to be Doris Cahill. So if Doris will come up with her teachers and her family. Who do you have here, Doris? Stand with you, Doris. You're the queen for the minute. Come on. Oh, come on. It's a big deal. Doris is a fifth. Let's come over. Doris is a fifth grader. Teachers here, family, and this is a big deal for us because we don't have a lot to say over the school district. But they've been doing these parenting traits with your little brother. Cousin. One day. And our students get something they like to celebrate it at council because we think it's a very big deal. And acceptance, my goodness, couldn't you teach a lot of people about that? So would anybody like to talk about why Doris got this from Michael C. Riley? Actually from our club. Not just Michael C. Riley. You won this whole cluster of Beaufort of Bluffton schools. So, what's about? It's always been smart. And I'm Grandma. Well, anything?
I'm her teacher. We nominated her, the classmates also had a say in it too. And they nominated her because she's very accepting of her peers. Anytime we have a new student, she always, no matter what, boy, girl, older, younger, she always comes in and treats everybody like she's new.
Yes.
So we couldn't think of anybody better than Evelyn. We call her Evelyn.
Great, wonderful grandparents that have taken care of us for a very, very long time. So I see their plans. Thank you, Mike, for being here. That is the town of Bluffton Point. And also get a police department point, which is also rare. So these are nice collectibles. And then put it on the down there. Free We also have a proclamation for lung cancer awareness. And to make sure that it's in the mail. Encourage everyone necessary testing and just get the information on all cancer. Next is Free and Vape Free Awareness Month, and we have, I see Dr. Novitz who's coming up for this. Also called vaping has become increasingly common among youth and is increased among all adolescent demographic groups. Whereas many of the e-cigarette companies contain chemicals, which include heart and respiratory diseases and cancer. Whereas the youth e-cigarette use epidemic created an urgent need for education and resources to prevent and reduce youth vaping. Whereas the Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth and Teens for Healthy Youth are working to educate and increase awareness about the dangers of youth vaping. The town of Bluffton approved including vaping to their smoking ordinance in 2019. Whereas all of us have the power to effect change to prevent and reduce youth vaping use and to be the best advocates for promoting positive choices and healthy lifestyles. I, Lisa Salka, Mayor of the town of Bluffton, on behalf of all of town council, proclaim November 2023 Smoke-Free and Vape-Free Awareness Month in Bluffton, South Carolina. Excuse me, and I don't vape. But I know what it must feel like. Do you have anything to add to it?
I would just like to say thank you to you, Mayor Soka, and Town Council members for issuing this important proclamation which supports the healthy development of our youth. We would also like to express our gratitude to you and your support in including vaping in the town smoking ordinance. Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth and its youth coalition, Teens for Healthy Youth, would like to especially thank you, Mayor Soka, for your regards supporting of the promoting positive youth development over these past years.
Okay. For those of you in the audience, if you don't know about Teens for Healthy Youth, it is in every school, public and private, in, I know South Carolina. I don't know if you've crossed north of the Broad yet. And they're really good leaders and they're really leading the way on right choices for young people because we need you back there one day. So we need you to make good choices. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have public comment. Let's see if I can get through and read this without coughing. Public comment, we have 3 minutes set aside for every resident in Bluffton to speak, regardless of, to speak on any issue concerning the town. Each speaker is limited to 3, regardless of whether they're speaking on their behalf or as an agent for others. They cannot donate, transfer, yield, or give any portion of their speaking time to another person. They must be conducted from the podium, and please bring your public comments, direct your public comments to town council. Confine your comments to the issues of the jurisdiction of the town. Please do not use public comment to promote or advertise awards or businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. If you violate any of these rules, you will be ruled out of order by the presiding officer. And once ruled out of order, please immediately cease and desist from further improper comments. Marcia will call the name. And when you come up, please give me your name and address, whether I know you or not, so we can have it for the record.
Howard Hallman.
Who is that?
This was submitted online.
Howard
Hallman.
Also, if you submit online, you must be here to read your public comment. We'll try him again after.
Skip Hoagland.
Mr. Hoagland.
Skip Hoagland, Windmill Harbor. Ms. Salka, you and Finger lost. Judge Vaux ruled in my favor that a POA is a legal doc to address counsel for another citizen's 3 minutes comments. I warn you both and even your own in-house Judge Bush, your private police force, you're not only violated mine and Ms. Greeley's rights to use a POA, but you also extremely violated our First Amendment rights by not only interrupting my POA 3 minutes, but removing me by police force, even worse, and perhaps the worst type of First Amendment violation that can be committed by a public official to a citizen's free speech rights, especially when a citizen addresses with hard facts and truth on your corruption, Ms. Salka. Now we won the POA, we will proceed to win our rights under the First Amendment to criticize public officials. No one in this country, regardless of their position, can dictate what you can say or how you can say it, especially if it's true and it's your free speech and your speech is civil, professional, and free of obscenity. And for those who choose to be disruptive, profane, or violent, I'm in favor of police force removal, citations, fines, and even jail time. You are in trouble for not only millions of your tax funds issued and used that has disappeared, unaccounted for with no transparency, but also you and Finger's severe conflicts from profiting from your full-time job as a realtor and Finger's law practice with his developer and builder and real estate clients. Salka is in big trouble for hiring Murdoch lawyers under contingency to sue me for a frivolous defamation lawsuit that actually is proven that violated my First Amendment rights. This lawsuit resulted in a $50 million insane judgment against me and Salka Murdoch lawyers. They even sued my innocent wife, accusing her of fraud, lying, and conspiracy to hide $50 million in bank accounts. Sheriff Tanner warned Salka to not violate anybody's free speech rights or remove them by police force, or Salka would get her butt sued off. Now Salka will be sued for the same $50 million her Murdoch lawyers won against me. Prepare yourself. Ms. Salka, Bluffton is not a police state or a banana republic. You serve the people, and we need to see what you and Finger have done with the tens of millions of our tax funds. We demand a forensic audit with an outside CPA and all town of Bluffton records. We need FBI investigations on you profiting as a full-time realtor and Finger's legal bills going back 25 years. You both have become rich off your years of corruption. That's right. Salka, you will also own $140,000 of damages to the official Greater Bluffton Chamber for favoring your crooked friend Bill Miles at the Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber, who is robbing our tax monies blind. And Mr. Toomer, shame on you. You're not qualified to be a mayor, and all you've been is a lapdog for Ms. Salka voting in favor of everything that she votes for. You're just not qualified.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Your
so
time is up. Your time
if
is
you
up.
dispute my facts, I'm happy to hear that, and I'm happy for you to dispute that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marcia.
No further.
Okay, public comment is over. Next, we have communications from mayor and council. Anyone? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Frazier?
Just wanted to give a acknowledgement to two organizations that are servicing our neighbors in need. Officer Frazier of our Bluffton PD has his 7th annual turkey drive, and they're collecting turkeys until November the 20th from 8:30 to 3 at Bluffton High. And Bluffton Self-Help just put a call out today requesting a need of 200 either turkeys or hams by tomorrow. And anyone interested can contact Bluffton Self-Help, and for the turkey drive with Officer Frazier, that's through Bluffton High. And Bluffton always comes to the rescue for those who need, and just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
One question on that, Bridget. Where, I know it's at the school, but what are the hours that someone can bring turkeys and drop them off? I tried to do that.
Good point, Councilman Toomer. That's going to be 8:30 to 3. They can drop off at any time.
5 days.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3 at Bluffton High.
This week and the next Monday.
Oh, next one.
Is the last day.
Pro Tem?
I'd just like to say thank you to the people of Bluffton during this last election we just had. It's quite humbling to see everybody come out and support us. We know, this council knows that we tried our best to do the right thing for everyone, no matter who it is, even those who don't agree with us, it's fine. But we know where our heart is, and we're going to continue to do great things for Bluffton. And again, I just thank everyone for their support and look forward to the next 4 years, and things will only get better in here, just believe me.
Anything on this side? Mr. Wood? Mr. Hamilton?
I just want to congratulate my partners over here, and it was a tough election, but it's over with, and I'm like Larry and Bridget, I'm proud to be able to continue to serve this community for another 4 years, and I just look forward to the future. Thank you.
Mr. Hamilton, anything?
Vote for me.
Just a couple of things. Ditto to that, by the way, congratulations. We did get an email from Ginger Marshall. Her husband used to be our deputy town manager, Scott Marshall. She's with EMS, and she was able to put a box out front at Town Hall for non-perishable food donations to assist with Bluffton self-help again, and she just wanted to thank us. The box is still out there, and we'll continue to take donations from any of y'all here if you'd like to participate until November 30th. It's right at the front entrance where you normally would come in to do business with the town. Also, Dr. Novitz and these great kids brought along with the accepting the proclamation a flyer on facts about e-cigarettes. And it's right out on the table, and I would encourage all of you to pick up the flyer and pass it around if you have young people in the house. This is really serious effects on children's lungs if they vape, and everyone thinks it's all so cool, and it really is. It gives some serious effects, and I appreciate all the education you've had on that. And I'm sure we can scan this and post it on our social media as well. And we do have a special election coming up, so I appreciate anyone who's considering running. It is an honor to sit up here to help your town, and I think Stephen will probably be getting a press release out on what those steps are, and I don't even know if you have them yet or not.
So we do, but we will work with the voter board, Beaufort County Voter and Registration Office to get everything moving forward. And once we have those dates official, we will be putting those out because we will only have 10 days for registration to sign up for the special election per the state law. So we'll want to get that out and get people at the notice to sign up. I'd be on the lookout for that probably the end of this week or first of next week.
Right. And then it's probably a little different with ethics disclosures and the like of having to get that submitted if anyone's running. And I'm speaking really to the world that we don't know who's watching, but it's really important to get that, and Marcia will have all that information.
She will. Anybody that comes in to sign up will get a packet that outlines that, our sign placement policy for political signs, as well as a letter from me. The other thing, there was a couple questions that I received today. It does not change the term of the position. It is to fill the remainder of the time that is left in the position. So whoever wins this special election will still have to run again in November of 25.
So 2 years.
So 2 years. So it will just fill the remainder of the term.
And I know you're opening your doors to people to ask questions. And I'm
Always.
sure any of us would be happy to sit down with anyone who's considering.
Can I give a couple things real quick?
Yeah, I think we're finished. Do you have anything?
I know we hit Thanksgiving, but before we'll have our next council meeting, I want to talk about some of the events that we have coming up, just to remind everybody. So December 1st is a tree lighting. So that will be at 5:30 p.m. out at Martin Family Park, followed by the Christmas parade at 10 a.m. on the 2nd, that Saturday. And I think we're a little over 100 people signed up, so I figure we'll be full by the time the parade it'll be just like normal. And then last but not least, we'll also have the menorah lighting ceremony on Saturday the 9th, and that's in partnership with the synagogue on the island. So there'll be Beth Ann.
Right. Okay, and we'll announce our grand marshal on that Friday. So it's really a fun event. Really good way to start the holidays. Okay, anything else? We're good. Moving on to formal agenda items. We have item number 1, consideration of the acceptance of Mosaic Developments 100% annexation to annex certain real property contiguous to the town of Bluffton's corporate boundaries, consisting of 7.76 acres, more or less, located at 3147 Oakview Highway, and bearing the tax number is listed on the agenda. Kevin, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor. As an introduction, the application that was submitted was on September 11th in accordance with the sections that are listed on the screen for a 100% annexation petition for a total of 7.76 acres located at 3147 Ocoee Highway. And this property is adjacent to the Buckwalter Crossroads Master Plan, which is in the municipal boundary. The applicant, along with this annexation request, if it does move forward, would potentially have additional applications that would need to be submitted, which includes amendments to the Buckwalter Plan Unit Development, the concept plan, and the development agreement. The applicant is requesting a total of 104 dwelling units for this property. Again, as it's the 7.6 acres, there's approximately 8 manufactured homes on the property right now, and the Bufflehead Lane traverses the site west to east and provides additional access to 7 adjacent property owners. From a vicinity map standpoint, you can see here the property is highlighted off of Ocoee Highway. And I'm just going through these, and at the end, if you have questions, I'm happy to go back through them. From an aerial map, you can see the subject property located on Ocoee. To the south is the Bluffton Parkway. To the east is Hampton Lake River Ridge Academy. From the boundary zoning map, you can see the light green color is the Buckwalter PUD, and that is the PUD that the applicant is requesting to come into. The current zoning of the property is rural. It's the T2R, which is a rural. These are the uses that are currently allowed in the county. And as you can see, the T2 rural zoning for their comprehensive plan goals is to preserve the rural character and portions of Beaufort County. This is a zoning comparison of both the current zoning in the county as well as the proposed zoning through the town. Currently, in that T2 rural, you're allowed 0.34 RDUs per acre, or 1 unit for every 3 acres. The applicant is requesting 16 units per acre. Current heights are 2 stories, proposed 3. You can see the parking. Stormwater treatments would be the same. The county does require the same SOLOCO requirements that we have in place. And from a comprehensive plan standpoint, currently it's classified as suburban, which is a low-density single-family. If this was to move forward, it would be proposed to be the neighborhood center or the activity corridor in the future land use map. Here's the copy of the land use map, and as you can see when we zoom in, the adjacent properties currently have the neighborhood center and the lifestyle housing to the south of it. The applicant did provide a conceptual plan. Again, this is conceptual. This plan has not been approved or reviewed for any compliance of any regulations of any of our codes. So you can see they're proposing a multifamily development of 104 units. There are some wetlands that would be impacted based off of what they are proposing. You can see the highlighted in green area are the wetlands. Again, just the additional amendments would be to that Buckwalter PUD, requesting the 104 units, and that will be required to meet that 20% allocation for our workforce affordable housing. From a concept plan standpoint, you can see I've kind of blocked the area over here. When you get a little bit closer, one of the amendments includes that concept plan adding this property to that area, checkerboard in there. And then part of the summary we would need to update the summary, the development summary of total acreage to add that 7.76 acres, as well as the the density summary of adding 104 dwelling units to the entire development. From a process standpoint, this evening we're here for that intent to annex. If you so choose to move forward, potentially you could either continue forward and send this to the negotiating committee, or you could move it forward towards Planning Commission for the Planning Commission workshop, then public hearing recommendation, and then first and second readings. I know I went through that relatively quickly. I'm happy to go back, answer any questions, and the applicant is here to answer questions that I cannot answer.
And there's so many new faces in the audience. This is a process we've put in place over the years to keep staff and applicants from going through too much time and energy and money, but mostly time on our staff's part to see if there's even a willingness to even accept some kind of an annexation request. So that is why it's here, and that's why he went through it kind of quickly, because we don't really have details.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, and through that process, we would have more details.
Okay. Questions of anyone? I'll look this way. Dan, anything?
Yes, ma'am. Took a hard look at this, and while it offers 20, it says affordable workforce, it seems like it was more workforce geared, but while we have a desperate need for affordable workforce housing in the community, we all know that. It's not just a Bluffton problem, it's a regional problem, state and national, so forth and so on. But from my perspective, the market gain of 80 units or whatever it would be, 84, far outweighs the benefit to the town than it does to the developer. While I do appreciate the developer offering these units, I just find it to be a large ask. I think it's a stretch too far, and I don't know that it's a good fit for us at this particular time as far as an annexation request goes.
Any comments or questions of Kevin?
I'll make a comment, if I may.
Don't end up laughing.
I, along with Dan, has met with the, this proposal on a couple of different occasions, and personally, I have a few reasons that I don't think that I could support it. One being the Kent Estate is real close to there if you look on that map. A few years back, Beaufort County bought the Kent Estate, purchased it, and we were able to take off 457 RDUs from being developed because of the critical area and the adverse effects to the head of the Okatee. Along with that Kent Estate, there was also an approval for 119,000 square feet of commercial space that now is not going to be done, and the property will be preserved forever. It doesn't make sense to me for us to push to take that critical land off and take those RDUs off and then give them right back, you know, in a stone's throw, I mean, almost in sight of the subject property. 2.5 homes are the currently what would be allowed to build on there. Current county zoning. And from 2.5 to 104 is a little bit too much for me. So that's my feeling.
Any other questions of Kevin?
Yeah, I had a question. So Kevin, with this request for annexation, would it also require a request for upzoning through the county?
Yes, ma'am. So and I'll go to from the concept plan here. So the applicant is requesting to go into that Buckwalter Commons, which is our general commercial zoning classification, which is the most permissive. So it would be allowed it's the most uses that are allowed in that. Now, with this request, the applicant is only proposing 104 dwelling units. So they're not requesting any commercial acreage associated with that. But yes, it is a upzoning from what is currently allowed in the county.
I met with the applicant as well, and was, at this point, I'm a strong advocate for affordable housing, but I don't think at this request that he has made a concession that gives me the stomach to say it's worth it because he's only willing to give 20%. I even told the applicant I wouldn't even sit down and have a discussion unless it was at least 50%. And it doesn't seem like he have the appetite for 50% either, so I can't support it as well.
I have a question of maybe process and real quick. When there's something so close, what is the plus for the town when you know how we feel about upzoning and added density that why do we allow them to go into an existing, is there a negative for the town for them to go into an existing, like Buckwalter Commons, PUD? I mean, is there plus or minus for us, or do we suggest that applicants do that?
It really depends on what's around it. So if the property was a great example of the Burnt Church Distillery, once that property came in and then we were able to annex the property that the town owns, it was most appropriate for that general mixed use through the Unified Development Ordinance. That was more appropriate at that location. At this location, because of the Buckwalter PUD adjacent to that, from a consistency standpoint, you're able to then incorporate it into that development agreement and then follow the guidelines associated with that. Now, if it went forward, you have the ability to put conditions on that as you choose.
The uses and.
Yeah, and at this time, that intent to annex, again, it's the application. We're presenting the application to you. If you decide to move forward, then we could take guidance from you and then potentially change the land use. We don't know at that.
It could actually, for future, even this one, it could go back to say, no, we don't want you part of that. Maybe council would hear, where can we be the most stringent with
Right.
our use?
Through additional research.
Instead of the 20%, maybe we put it in a category that would demand it, if it weren't in Buckwalter Commons.
Yes, and there's a lot of factors that would come into play that during the process we would research and be able to determine that.
Okay, well, it is, I've tried over the last many years to have some respect with the county and vice versa, because if we don't start respecting what each of us have in zoning, then when does it stop? And it's great. I mean, 2 houses to 104 is a lot, and I don't know what the county will do, but I think it shows them that we're trying to make right of a lot of wrongs, but a lot of goods have happened, but growth is kind of crazy. So I think sounds like we're all pretty much on the same page. So I can read a motion or someone can read it. Getting the feeling there's a motion to decline, so I'll go that way. Is there a motion to decline to accept the acceptance of Mosaic Development LLC's 100% annexation petition to annex certain real properties contiguous with the town of Bluffton's corporate boundaries, consisting of a total of 7.76 acres and bearing the county tax map numbers R600 029 000 0002 0000.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
One final point to staff, so we don't, and I'm speaking for me, I would think that there's others at the table that may feel a similar way, but we're not anti-annexation, and we're not anti-affordable housing. Obviously, we want affordable housing desperately. And so I think if the right development walked in the door and asked for something that was a win-win for the town and a win for the developer as far as numbers go and things like that on the affordable housing front, it might get a different look. But this one did not weigh that heavily. It, like Councilman Hamilton said, it didn't reach our bar to where we had more benefit as an equal player. So I just wanted to get that out there because I know it's hard for staff to read our minds, but so I just wanted to share that, and I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, but
Yeah, and I'll actually follow up with Dan because we really put our heart into this and see if there was something that made sense or not. And one of the other things that stood out to me was for this development to even work, they were asking for approximately $300,000 a year in tax forgiveness, if I could use that word, which, doing the math, 300 a year times 30 years is $9 million that would be our investment into a piece of property with 104 homes that we didn't own. And I didn't like those numbers personally. It didn't make sense for the town.
Any other discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Next is Stephen. Approval to authorize intergovernmental joint funding agreement for Stony Creek Sewer Project. It is so nice to have this on the agenda. Thank you for presenting.
Do you need me to present or just?
I mean,
So I do
you
have
don't have to present long.
no, I just have a couple slides again.
All in favor?
A lot of things that we know have been working for a long time, people in the community may not know. So I wanted to go through a little bit of the background on how we got to where we are. So just to talk about the May River and Stony Creek, this has been an issue that we've been discussing for a decade, or not, yeah, about a decade plus. We've tested around the area of Stony Creek and the head of the May River for many years. We've also documented human coliform that has impacted the river. It's also been traced to failing septic tanks, systems, rising water tables, and other similar sources that end up heading into the the May River, right there at the head. So the town, Beaufort County, and Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority, we identified this as a priority area to address to try to get them off septic and onto sewer. And we've been working on that for quite a while. One of the main reasons we did it is not just only the environmental impact, but the economic impact that this has on the town with the shell fishing that is currently blocked, unavailable to occur due to DEC, as well as the tourism and everything related to the river that occurs on the May River and how it impacts our economy. So it's not only for health and betterment, but also for economic, for the community. We've been setting funding aside for this for years. We actually did a stormwater bond to help cover this cost several years ago, and that money's been waiting for this project to move forward. All parties, Beaufort County, BGWSA, and the town came together to apply for a SCIP grant, a South Carolina Infrastructure Investment Program grant, and those became available through ARPA funds. Once the state moved a bunch of funds over there to push projects like this forward that have been sitting for a long time. So we were able to apply and get it just short of $6 million to fund this, help fund this project of about an $8 million total overall budget. So to move forward with this, we need an intergovernmental agreement that it defines how all three parties are going to cooperate together to get this project complete. So this is just kind of high level. You have a copy of the IGA in your packet. And some of y'all have talked to BGWSA board members. We've discussed this for several months, trying to move this forward. So the highlights of it is ultimately BJWSA is going to be taking the major responsibility in this, which is they're going to serve as the owner of this project. They're going to oversee the engineering, the right-of-way acquisition, community outreach, all of that that's involved in moving the project forward. Then they're also going to oversee the construction of the sewer system, the connecting of existing structures to the system, and decommissioning the septic tanks that are currently out there within the community. They're also going to serve as the grant administrator and deal with the state on reporting and making sure they're in compliance with everything. So they're taking the heavy lift on this. I don't want to say our portion is not as important because we're the funders. So we help provide the funding that's going to make this project move forward. But Beaufort County and Bluffton ultimately will be agreeing to provide, between about 1.1 to 1.25 million. A lot of that depends on pricing and how things come back in to help move the project forward. Just to give you an example, when we last budgeted this in CIP, our portion was a third of about $5 to $6 million estimated budget. So we've been budgeting close to about $1.8 to $2 million for this project for a couple years. So this is below what we've kind of been holding, and that's thankful to the grant that we were able to receive. And then we will also be serving as reviewers throughout this process to make sure that it's progressing properly, and we'll meet monthly to reconcile and make sure that we're getting the work performed matches with what we're going to be providing to the funding to make this project move forward. One other note is the initial application, everything for this was strictly for sewer. BJWSA has said now that they're going to be putting the sewer in this area, they want to go ahead and move forward with getting water service in there because it makes it easier for them to manage their system. And also, if you're digging a trench to put sewer in, you might as well run water while you're there so they can get a savings of efficiency as well. That cost is estimated to be about $3.3 million. I put an extra zero in the wrong comma. I apologize for that. I just realized that. But they're going to be covering 100% of that cost completely. We'll be paying no portion of the cost for water. Our portion will only go for the sewer, which is what we've committed to. One other thing that they've committed to, and as well as what will happen with this grant, is that any connection to anybody who's out there currently connecting to the sewer, the grant will cover to make sure there's no cost for them to be connected. And BJWSA has also committed, their board has, that anybody they're connecting to water as part of this installation will not pay any fees to be connected to water as well. So anybody who has well water or septic out there, when this project is done, they'll be connected at no cost. The only thing they'll have moving forward will be a monthly utility bill to cover the cost of the water service, but it will not cost them anything to be tied into the system. So in the long run, the goal is we remove the septic tanks that may be failing, that will be future failing, and address especially some of the major areas along like where the campground is. I didn't put this in here, but one thing that's important is this falls within the county's river protection zoning area. So there can't be much development in this area. So even though there's sewer going in, it is very restricted. I think it is 1 unit per every 3 acres or 4 acres. I'm looking at Kevin. Do you know off the top of your head? Yeah, 1 for every 3. So with what we're talking about here, we're anticipating it to be between about 100 and 150 existing structures that are out there, but there's not room for a lot of any other growth out there unless it's going to be very minor because of the overlay district, and the county is aware of that, and that's one of the reasons they're willing to support. So next steps. BJWSA has approved this. They approved it about 2 weeks ago. If council approves it tonight, we'll be next. Beaufort County has it to go to their committee on 11/27 and to their December county council meeting to approve. So once everybody approves, we'll have the agreement in place. But BJWSA has already actually issued the notice to proceed to design the project to the engineer. They issued that on October 2nd. And then they're anticipating final design complete about a year from now, and then construction to wrap up. Procurement to wrap up about the 1st of 25. Start construction shortly thereafter, and by the grant, we have to be done by the end of May of 2026 to meet the grant requirements. So they're on a time crunch to move forward. So they've already started the design. So with that being said, if council is good to move forward, I have a proposed motion, and I can also answer any questions that I may not have addressed or any questions you may have.
Questions of Stephen? I'll look here first. Bridget? Dan?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
May of 25 or 26 completion,
Yes, sir.
that's the best we could have done?
That is going to be tight to complete that. They're anticipating a year for design and right-of-way acquisition for all of the properties that are going to be affected.
You back a slide up. I mean, it shaves off a couple of months, but can we not ask them to start soliciting right after the design's complete? Why the 3-month delay from October to January?
That 1/1 is when they anticipate awarding it. So if design's complete October and they go to bid, it'll open in, say, November 1st, November 10th, and have to go to their board meeting, say the end of November, December, whenever their board meeting is. 1/1 is when they anticipate to say their notice to proceed that they can start construction.
And they also allowed themselves a year for construction, which that's just covering their,
Yeah,
or actually, is that the deadline for our grant?
that's the deadline for the grant.
Grant, yeah.
That's the deadline for the grant, so it's got to be done before then. And I can't foresee construction taking a year from start to finish. You know what I'm project like this.
I agree with Fred, and I think all of us are frustrated at the time. I think we started meeting with them weekly, and it really, everyone was at the same table talking, and I think it moved things quickly. If we can keep meeting and getting updates on their design, their permits or easements, and really just help them where they can, and, you know, maybe they can
We
trim
will
that
be
off
more
by
than glad to
3
do that.
months.
That's part of what our role is to make sure that progressing and they're meeting the schedule and that we're pushing them. But again, to remember, they're the project managers. So if they tell us that they're moving as fast, if we take our money away, all we're saying is that the project's not going to get done. So-
But a reminder,
I would
let's
be-
get us a monthly update. I just think it holds everyone's feet to the fire.
Well, and-
Makes people work harder.
Y'all have been in some of the meetings we had. I think they understand the priority that this takes and that's been relayed from the town. The part of the frustration that we've had on our end is it's taken us this long to even get the IGA in place. It's wasted probably 4 months to 6 months just going back and forth with them, trying to get it to the point where it was ready to be adopted by all parties. And that's been, so there are definitely places that we can help push, and we will be more than glad, and we will do that on a regular basis. So I agree. I think what I mentioned in communication with them today is to get to a point where we have maybe monthly or bi-monthly meetings moving forward, even through design and construction to help expedite. And I think they hear that loud and clear from us.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Wood?
Yeah, to Councilman Hamilton's point, when I saw the schedule, what struck me was the end date, because I don't believe they can get all those easements in that period of time. Having had experience with easement acquisition, if they do, they'll really be doing a great feat. So I think the fact that we're going to stay on top of this with them, because that will be the caveat that slows them down, as we all know, to get the right of way.
And I apologize, I didn't put all the details in here because I didn't want to get way down in the weeds, but this is going to be phased in, so they'll be working through a lot of those in phases, where you'll see that in the IGA, there's an attachment in there where it shows like clusters of property owners. They're going to be working through those through priority to make sure we're getting the ones closest to the impact of the river first and moving further away as we move. So I think their goal is to design the overall system and start acquiring the right-of-ways in phases to make sure that even if they have to start this phase, we have those right-of-ways while they're still securing the next ones and so forth. So they'll have time through construction to move through the phases to to acquire right-of-ways as well.
Another question is on the drop dead date and the 100% completion. Say that they complete 75%.
Then we'll be fine. Because we only have to complete by that date what's required, what we received by the grant, which is 75% of the total cost.
And just barely.
Right, then they'll be fine.
And two more observations. Kudos to this council. Again, this goes back many years, and kudos for us sticking to it. Kudos for us bringing up the fact about the laterals. That would have been a disaster if that was not being addressed. And I want to say, and I know we've already done this, but kudos to Mr. Representative Herb Kurzman for helping in this process. And because all of this shows the public, again, all of Bluffton's problems cannot just be solved by Bluffton. This is another regional project, and it could not be done any other way.
Anything else, Mr. Hamilton?
What about the cost of materials over this period of time? Will that increase and cause us to have to bring in more funding?
If it is, that's why I put an estimated cost in there, because we're going to have a contingency. But we'll be reviewing the monthly statements, the statements monthly to see what the costs and everything are coming in at. And if we reach a point where we have to have that discussion, we'll come back to council and address.
Anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve a resolution to enter into an intergovernmental joint funding agreement with Stony Creek Sewer Expansion Project?
I'll make that motion.
Who wants to second that
Second.
motion? Any discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Great job. Item number 3, under formal items, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Business and Business Regulations, Appendix 8, and Appendix B, scheduled by NAICS Code of Town of Code, of the Town Code as required by Act 176 of 2020. Natalie, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you a proposed ordinance amendment to Appendix A and Appendix B of Chapter 6. And just as a reminder, this coincides as a requirement for Act 176, which is the Business License Standardization Act. And so bulleted is where we will be updating our ordinance on the odd year. So this is the first of that update. MASC has recommended that this be adopted by the end of the calendar year. There were some changes with some of the NAICS numbers and a recommended change with Class 8.6 pertaining to billiard tables, and then also the recommendation of the removal of Classes 9.41 and 9.42 as that NAICS code no longer exists, which pertains to peddlers. And here is the recommended rate class schedule with those changes against what we currently have. And if I go too fast, please.
Good.
Okay. After the analysis of the update from MASC, there was a minimal revenue impact to our business license revenue. We are recommending no changes for classes 1 through 8. And as a housekeeping matter, we're recommending that rate class 9.7, which currently is at $1 per thousand, would be updated to $1.15 per thousand, which would be consistent with the update with the 722 NAICS codes, which are being moved from a rate class 1 to a rate class 2. And here's our table with those changes again. We're recommending no changes to rate classes 1 through 8. And next steps, this will go before you for second and final reading at next town council meeting, and it will be effective for business licenses that begin on May 1st of 2024. And this is just a summary of what we went over. It's part of the Standardization Act. No changes. And the recommended motion. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You had said peddlers, but did you mean pawnbrokers?
No, I actually did mean peddlers. So the NAICS code that is for peddlers no longer exists. So what MASC is recommending is that those fall into what their natural rate class would be.
So it would be an A class, just not.
It would be,
their own.
yes, it would be, yes.
Questions? Mrs. Frazier?
So I know you all do a good job, Natalie, of updating this on the website with the business licenses. Will that same plan be in place, or how will communication be disseminated to business owners who potentially would be impacted with the rate class change?
We will do our best to reach out to those businesses that are impacted. There are 2 classes or 2 NAICS codes that do move up. Nobody moves up more than 1 class, which is good. And then we do have some NAICS codes that do move down a couple classes. And we will reach out to those businesses impacted.
Thank you.
Mr. Trimmer, anything? I'm good. Anything over here? Mr. Hamilton?
I just want to know, we're just trying to be in compliance with the next class codes by increasing our rate?
No, we're not recommending a rate increase with what we have in our class schedule.
But you said one class was going up 15 cents.
So let's see if this will explain a little bit better. If you look at, it's near the bottom, 722 are food services and drinking places. And currently that is in a rate class 1. And MASC is recommending that NAICS series moves up to a rate class 2. So just below that, we have an isolated NAICS code that is 722-410, and those are drinking places. And those fall in our rate class 9 schedule. And so currently, that rate class 9 has it at a $1 per thousand, but we're recommending that it be consistent with what the other NAICS codes that begin with 722 are moving to in a rate class 2. So rate class 1 is currently $1 per thousand, and a rate class 2 is $1.15 per thousand.
Just confused me even more.
I'm sorry.
I thought I was going to be able to
Okay,
help you,
let me
but you
see, all right,
confused
this,
me
let me
too.
see if this will help you. So that explained that NAICS code piece of it, and here's where our rate schedule is. So a rate class 1 is the base fee of $50, and then after your base allowance of $2,000, it's assessed at $1 per thousand. So currently, our 7222 NAICS codes, which are typically restaurants, are in a rate class 1. But MASC is recommending that they move up to a rate class 2. So to be consistent with the 722-410s, we're recommending that have that same per thousand rate at $1.15.
Like the line 2, rate class
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down to 9.7.
Yes.
But why would 9.7, why is 9.7 an added 50? I'm kind of where he is. It's got its class at 9.7.
It does. So we have a rate class 9 schedule. And so that is isolated out for any, it is drinking places and alcoholic, so bars typically that don't have food are in that NAICS class. Currently, we don't have anything like that at the moment in the town, but it's separated out and is put into a rate class 9.7 in our business license ordinance.
So what you're saying is the municipal association is given the recommendation, so food and beverage services are currently in that 722. The outlier of drinking places was the 9.7, but they're trying to match it to food and beverages since it's in that same category. So because they're moving it, as the MSAC has asked, up to that rate class 2, it's going to move 9.7, which is really 722-410, up to that rate class 2 also, just to be on level with the same thing.
So we're not increasing, it's being increased because it's moving to a different class.
Because it's going to a different level, right?
And technically, you can't have the alcohol businesses, bars selling alcohol without food.
Right.
So I don't even know why it's on there. You know, you can't get a state license without food. So,
Clear as mud.
yeah, it's clear as mud.
It makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense.
We're trusting.
Thank you, Councilman Frazier.
Okay, any other questions for clarity? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Business and Business Regulations, Appendix A, Business License Rate Schedule, and Appendix B, Business License Class Schedule by NAICS Code to comply with Act 176 of 2020?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We will see this next month on second reading. All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a consent agenda, which includes all of our department reports, which are really important. And if any of you go online to look at our links, it will show you what everyone's doing. Building permits pulled, what the police have done, calls of service, what engineering's done, what our projects are. It's really great information to be aware when you're out and about in your day. And then we have our town manager report. Is there anything anyone would like pulled off of consent agenda to talk about separately? If not, is there a motion to approve a consent agenda items 1 and 2?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next, is there a motion to go into executive session relating to proposed land acquisition in Old Town for purpose of street right-of-way, and that's FOIA Act 3470A2? And will there be action from executive session?
There's not anticipated to have any action from
No
executive session.
anticipated action. We go in the back, so y'all are welcome to stay and watch us adjourn when we finish. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. We will move into executive session. Not the fastest council meeting, but it's Had a nice night with our PD. No action was taken, no votes were cast. Is there any action to be made out of executive session? No. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
We're adjourned. Do I have
Are you
three?
going to take us all on a cruise?
Oh, apparently. I didn't realize I had so much money.
Bridget said yay while she was in there.
I heard ya.
She just turned 3.
Just gorgeous.
Larry, you already.
Thank you.
I have the money that I'm claimed to have had, just for y'all to know.
She's a sweetheart. I'm very proud of her. She did well today.
I will get with you, I promise.
Check on your mama.
Oh, my.